Ladies and gentlemen, Marshall Adams the first. Let's talk about one, I guess, unsanctioned floor activity that you were part of, which was when you guys went down into the tunnels.
Oh, that was so boring.
It was boring, because it seemed like, to me, that would maybe be not so much boring as scary.
I didn't quite see like what the excitement was all about when we were doing it. They're just sort of like, let's walk around, let's like get physically close to each other and walk around a little bit. And then it like ended up being like a pretty sad walk, obviously. Like when we see a giant pile of dead dogs, and Mike's the one that sort of led us there, and it's like, again, another example of Mike trying to do something that ends up horribly and that wrecks the spirit of the floor. And then what happens is next we walk back onto the floor, and then Gopher's world is absolutely rocked. And it's like, I did feel like as their RA, like in that moment, I was sort of like, kind of like the cool parents who like, look, I know you guys drink, but I'd rather you like drink in my basement than you like drink on the freeway or at the end of the pier. Like, I was sort of that in that moment. There have been reports of homeless people committing pretty aggressive crimes down in the tunnel, so I was like, I do need to be there to protect everyone.
Speaking of homeless people, let's talk about Linda a little bit.
Me and Linda actually kind of clicked pretty immediately.
Yeah.
I initially was going to kick her out right away, but she did have Josh's ID card, so she had access to his meal plan and access to the building, and, I didn't have to do anything, like, administratively to, like, help coordinate the temporary, switching roommates, and so, we clicked pretty easy. She kind of stayed out of the way, and it was refreshing to not have this, like, really sort of, like, shallow artist kind of bubbling and bouncing his way around the floor. Yeah, I definitely made a new friend out of it.
I mean, it sounds like you really opened up with Linda, and after the dormal, you were sitting out on the front steps. It sort of felt like your conversation never ended. What is it that you were going to say to her at that point?
You know what? I don't quite remember what conversation you're talking about. Like, the night of dormal, I was on such, like, a euphoric high, like, after winning the award I was working for an entire year, that, like, the night just kind of turned into a celebratory blur.
I'm going to try to jog your memory here, Marshall. After you were awarded RA of the Year and you talked to Steph, there was a scene that we saw of you and Linda sitting out on the steps outside, and she was saying that, you worked really hard to get what you wanted, but then it ended up not being what you wanted, or something to that effect. And you were talking about how you were going to be a better man and that your story wasn't over, but then Josh came and stole Linda away, and we didn't get to hear the rest of that conversation. So is there anything you would like to share with us that you maybe would have shared with Linda if it hadn't been for Josh interrupting?
I mean, it was a conversation between me and her, and like it is kind of rude to pry into other people's conversations. First of all, so I'm not going to disclose like anything that would potentially embarrass Linda, but I'm pretty sure I was about to ask her a question, and that question was going to be something along the lines of like, why did you not sort of agree to be on the documentary, and yet you still stay? But I didn't get a chance to ask, and she didn't get a chance to answer, and that's it, I guess.
I wish that she had agreed, because I really wish we could have seen her facial expressions.
She does have a very unique face. I think living under the Lincoln Bridge with Hampton for that time sort of let her develop almost like a giant bird's beak instead of a nose. She has very unique features, I'll say.
We were being told that she has very beautiful facial features, actually.
I don't know who said that, but maybe they were wearing crazy glasses at the time.
Actually, it was Danny B, and he doesn't wear glasses.
As an RA, throughout the year, you've probably seen your fair share of crazy things on the floor. What would you say was the craziest thing that you saw this whole year?
Oh my gosh, that actually is a pretty tough question. You're right, like, I mean, you guys have seen a lot of the crazy stuff, but there's plenty of stuff that you guys have not seen. I actually had to write Mike up one time he was on a laptop in the lounge, and I'm pretty sure he was looking at inappropriate adult content in the lounge.
Really?
And so I wrote him up immediately, and I confiscated his computer for 2 weeks. It was just kind of weird because it was also the day where like fifth grade class was going to be taking a tour, kind of visiting college and kind of getting them excited about college for the future. And I was just like, Mike, like on all days, why did you pick this day to do this in the lounge?
What are the consequences of this?
Of a write-up?
Yeah.
So you have to meet with the dean, and you guys saw that when Shane had to meet with Dean, and well, I had to meet with Dean as well at one point. But punishment, and usually it's community service, having to do with something on campus, whether it's washing dishes in the dining hall or working with an organization doing admin work or whatever. So I think, I've been keeping a tally of how many hours Mike has built up, and the last count was over 426 hours.
Oh, wow.
Well, it sounds like he's really made a positive impact in his community, so that's great.
Yeah. I mean, indirectly.
Inadvertently.
So
inadvertently, yeah. That's what I'm saying. It's sort of like in that way, I think it is a good thing, to write people up because they do get up there and help the community.
One of the things that we saw you do towards the end of the year is have a little one-on-one session with each of your residents. I think you had said those videos were meant to be turned into Dean. Did you actually do that? Like, has he seen those?
No. That was something I said to sort of get people in the chair and have them open it up. And I just wanted a document of things in case I needed to bring anything to the attention of Dean.
I noticed that toward the end of all of these webcams with your interviews, you asked them to sign a waiver.
So each floor gets funds to run programs with.
Right.
And there, throughout the year there had been some shifting of those funds that was kind of unexplained. So I just wanted them to sign the document, understanding that I was not involved in those shifting funds and, that they wouldn't, ever talk to Dean about anything they saw or heard in regards to that, just to sort of cover the bases and just kind of protect the floor.
Did you come upon a large sum of funds at any point during the year?
Yes.
Oh, cool. Very cool. So it was almost like winning the lottery or something to that effect. What did you buy with this money, if anything?
The floor funds are meant for the residents and for programs, and so I made sure to spend the money on my residents and stuff, and I was able to take Steph to space camp and pay for her tuition so that she could learn things at space camp, and then maybe run some space programs when she got back to the floor. Sort of like a leadership training exercise,
Right, and I'm sure that'll pay off now that she's potentially going to be an RA.
Totally, yeah, that was what I was thinking too.
So basically, I just want to make sure we got this right. You spent
on the record. Let's go on the record.
Let's go on the record, Marshall. So you spent floor funding on Steph's space camp.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Did you get anything else for the floor, or because obviously Steph's not the only resident, and I understand how you're saying that.
Definitely the loudest resident.
Yes, she is. That's true.
Looking back over the whole year, what was your proudest moment as an RA?
Oh my gosh. That also is such a hard question. Just like the crazy things in the dorms happening, like proud Marshall moments also happened, with probably even more frequency. It's hard to say. Like, dorm life is basically a highlight reel for me. It's such a good keepsake, and I'm so glad I participated in the show.
Right.
Winning the IM game was huge. There was I put a lot of pressure on myself to win again because I had won the year previous, and I'm kind of on a streak. But I think the biggest one is probably winning RA of the year, just because it had been such a big goal, and I'd never done it before, and I worked so hard and had so much support along the way, and for it to finally be actualized was a moment where I was absolutely proud of myself.
Yeah, and it looks like all of your other friends were right there for you the whole time. They had your support. So I think it's great.
It was so fun.
Yeah.